Directed by Scott Cooper, The Pale Blue Eye marks another dive into the dark, atmospheric storytelling from the filmmaker of Hostiles and Crazy Heart. Released in December 2022, the film is an adaptation of Louis Bayard's novel with the same title, The Pale Blue Eye, blending fiction and history in the mysterious setting of 1830s West Point. Later, it was released on Netflix on January 6, 2023. The cast is led by Christian Bell as Augustus Lander, a detective drawn into a chilling murder case, and Harry Melling as a young Edgar Allan Poe, a portrayal that feels both haunting and sorrowful. Joining them are Lucy Boynton, Gillian Anderson, Toby Jones, Charlotte Gainsbourg, Robert Duvall, and many more amazing actors and actresses. Each of them adds depth into this cold and mysterious world. We know that Edgar Allan Poe is a famous figure in literary work, but the inclusion of him in the film is not based on Poe's real story. But also, do you know that there are quite a lot of references to Poe's work in the film? If you're familiar with the Telltale Heart, you might see the reference. Shortly, is about a man that kills an old man due to his fear towards his pale blue eye and his heartbeat sound. Both stories have the portrayal of someone's madness, and that is what makes both works quite similar. And of course, no film is without its flaws, and The Pale Blue Eye is no exception. So let's dive into the areas where some parts don't land as strongly as the others. This could be arguable, but at some point, the film is the type of slow burn mystery that focuses on the atmospheric build-up, toned-down character interaction, and psychological tension, rather than fast-moving action or constant revelations, which works pretty well with gothic tone actually. However, some scenes feel unnecessarily long, especially in the first half. Some might even say the pacing drags in the middle, with minimal action or development to drive the story forward, which might leave some part of the audience less engaged. The film takes time, but there's not much urgency to solve the crimes, even though this makes more sense later in the film. The first few scenes start with tension where the first case is already revealed, which could be intriguing to the viewers. But then, it seems to lose the steam as it goes and doesn't feel very impactful. The story might not appear as intense as it should, which make it harder for the viewers to stay interested. One scene that feels especially slow is when Augustus Lander, played by Christian Bell, investigates the murder and carefully examines the crime scene. The camera lingers on his expressions and the small detail he notices, with long moments of silence as he thinks everything through. Other scenes that may contribute to the slowness are probably the scenes of Lander and Poe having a conversation, revealing Poe's personal experience and background, which do not make a big contribution to the problem they are dealing with. While those scenes add the tense and mysterious atmosphere, it goes on for quite a while, might feel too slow and might distract the attention for viewers who prefer more action or quicker story development. We acknowledge the chemistry between Lander and Poe as the main characters with their interactions. It is quite captivating to see. However, the supporting characters outside of those two often feel underdeveloped. For example, the Academy's administrators and certain cadets who play important roles in the investigation and the overall plot often feel more like background figures rather than fully fleshed out individuals. Those characters could have added more depth into the story if they appear more. While the mystery is thrilling, a few plot twists feel a little predictable. Well, that might be arguable as well, and here's the reason why. The story passing at the beginning indicates to the viewers that there might be some twist at the end of the story. It tends to give clues with too much emphasis and making it easy for the viewers to put together all the puzzle pieces of the mystery before it's fully revealed at the ending. So the twist could feel underwhelming. Other than that, the narrative structure seems to follow a traditional structure for murder mysteries. This familiarity might make it more underwhelming, except maybe for the people who are not familiar with this kind of genre. So here's the deal. The Pale Blue Eye is probably not your typical fast paced murder mystery, but a slow burn film could still give a unique vibe. It could still evoke the audience's senses from its various elements, such as the set designs, the story logic, the narrative dialogue, and the acting that enrich the film genre. Those are enough to make up all of its flaws. Plus, the mix of historical fiction and Poe inspired elements adds a really cool layer to the whole experience. Overall, it's almost like you're watching Sherlock Holmes that meets Edgar Allan Poe's poetry wrapped in snowy and eerie setting. Now, whether it's worth watching or not is based on your preference. If you're into atmospheric storytelling, dark, slow burner mysteries, or just want to see some killer performances, this film is definitely worth your time.